Real quick, ladies and gentlemen, just stopping in here to give you a heads up. This episode you're about to hear was actually recorded live on YouTube, and I wanted to give you the option to go and check that out. So if you get a chance, you can go to YouTube and type in at source material 3439. You should be able to pull up the channel. The channel is titled hashtag source material, and you can watch myself and Evan Bevins talk about our top 5 and actually see the cards and these variants that are creepy right there on your viewing device. All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Evan. I'm Jesse. We're back. We have returned. We're actually going to have, this is our first time that we have done a visual top 5 for anybody that's listening out there. This will also turn into an audio format podcast, but visually, this is going to be our top 5 creepiest variants. It fits well with the format of being on YouTube. So I think that's perfect.
I came up with this because of one variant in particular I got that I was pretty sure was going to be the undisputed champ, and then I remembered another one that lives rent-free in my nightmares.
Oh, boy.
So there was an upset at number 1.
All right. Well, like I said, I scrambled a little bit this evening and started looking at all of the variants that are out there. I will go ahead and preface this with, I think there may be one on here that has not hit the shop or anything like that. I think it's going to be hitting in a few days. But let's go ahead. We'll get started with our top 5. So as you can see, if anybody's watching us right now, we have brought up the snap.fan website. So what we're going to be able to do is we're actually going to be able to show you the card as we're talking about it, which should be fun. And get to see some other variants too that may not even be on the list just by scrolling through. You never know. But I will go ahead and start. Anything else you wanted to throw out there, Evan, before we get into our top 5?
Let's go.
All right. So my number 5 is actually a card that I've used on a previous list, and that is Cloak. Specifically, it is the 1609 variant? 1602 variant. So not very over the top, really creepy. But it's got its moments where I picked this as one of my top 5 best animated cards, precisely because of the eyes. The eyes glow, and all you could see is his face and hands coming out at you from the cloak, which is pretty cool. So as far as creepy goes, a disembodied head floating inside a cloak with glowing eyes counts.
Anybody who's been reading any Marvel events lately knows that the Dark Force can be very problematic.
Uh-oh. Oh, my. All right. Duly noted. All right. What do you got for number 5, Evan?
All right. Number 5, we've got a tie.
Okay. All right.
So, I'm going to pull this up real quick, but we have Mantis and Phil Coulson. And it's one of my favorite types of variants, but it didn't work out well here. Their pixel variants look like they were in some sort of transporter accident on Star Trek.
There's Mantis for you right there.
Mantis looks like she's channeling the Phantom of the Opera.
Look at the half that's shading. Where is the chin? Is this her lips? Is that her neck? Is that her jaw?
I don't disrespect somebody's artistic ability. 9 out of 10 of these pixel cards are awesome. I wish I could just take all the unloved pixel variants from the people complaining about them online. And something just ain't right here. This one I discovered and couldn't force off the list as I was looking through my variants. The Coulson one has always haunted me from the get-go.
Oh, boy.
He looks, I don't know, like Bert from Sesame Street became human and then was in some sort of accident. I just now, for the first time, however long I've had this variant, spotted what might be his second eye.
Oh, man. It's so funny because earlier tonight, as I'm going through, I almost took Dylan McDermott Punisher, Pixel Punisher for the win. As we've discussed before, the avatars do not do these pixels favors at all. It's just like a big magnification of stuff that went wrong sometime.
I'm actually seeing his face better than I do when it's larger on my phone screen.
Yeah.
He looks like he's in more pain than he was when Loki killed him in Avengers.
I assume this is a gun.
Gun.
Okay.
Okay, and there's an eye, and then to the right of the eye is what could be an eyebrow and another eye. I think I'm making out a nose. Like, it's starting to come together. Maybe it was just putting this on for a massive audience and daring to, seem to mock someone's art, publicly forced me to see that it's not so bad. But I don't know. Still,
look, we know there's problems with
pixels. I still find it unsettling.
There's problems with pixels. All right, very good. Well then,
most of the pixels are great, but when they go wrong,
they can go wrong. All right, well, that's a good way to start things off with a tie. How about number 4 for you?
Number 4. I don't like when it shows up in a game. I don't like that it's now in my collection. I have not broken the frame because I don't want it any bigger than it is right now. Wolverine.
All right.
The baby variant.
Oh, boy. Baby variant Wolverine.
It doesn't look like a baby. It looks like, was it Jim Davis that draws Garfield?
Yes.
Drew Logan naked.
Yes.
And it may all be the hair. I don't know. He seems to be picking his teeth or his nose with his claws. I've got it up now on my screen, and I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. Comic book Wolverine, as wonderful a casting as it is, like on my Mount Rushmore of comic book movie casting is Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. But comic book Wolverine is not Hugh Jackman.
Right.
Whatever animal magnetism he has that attracts every woman to him, even a nun who became a vampire, is wrong in a baby context.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Sometimes, not often, and it's subjective. This might be somebody's favorite card. I get it. But every once in a while, I'm like, could I just not claim the card? Can you guys just take it back? It's cool.
I want a different one, please.
I'm fine. I will take the empty prize cash. No disrespect to Scotty Young. There's a lot of great stuff. I'm not sure. I said Jim Davis or maybe Sam Keith.
Sam Keith? I can see that.
It definitely looks like some Sam Keith action going on here. Sam Keith, his art works in certain stories and it fits, even if you wouldn't like it somewhere else, but there's no call for this.
Okay, I'll agree. Little hairy man, baby. It's pretty frightening.
Yeah. Please do your number 4 so it can disappear off the screen. Oh, well, my number 3 is not much better.
It only gets worse from here, dude, when it comes to the creepy factor. This one, I'm curious to get your opinion on. So my number 4...
I'm going back to Pixel Coulson.
Just as a palate cleanser. So my number 4 is Benjamin J. Grimm. However, as the nullified thing.
That's not just a random one that came out of the artist's mind. That happened in the comic.
Did it really? Oh, wow. This released last year, October 31st, 2023, according to what I'm seeing here. When you look at the thing, you know what we're used to with Benjamin J. Grimm. He's always rough and tumble and ready to go for a fight, but it just takes him down to this baseless monster and gives him claws, gives him spiked shoulder pads. He looks like a member of the Legion of Doom from WWE almost. Go ahead.
Oh, I'd have to correct myself. I'm getting him mixed up with his Fear Itself version. I don't think that happened.
Okay, I don't know at what point any of this nullified stuff was going on.
Well, King in Black.
I know that story happened. Was that a large crossover or a large event? Okay.
That was company-wide. It touched on most titles, and the ones that didn't got their own one-shots, which usually I frown on, but it did produce Iron Man and Doctor Doom fighting a venomized Santa Claus, so
all right.
Merry Christmas to us.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So there you go. That's my number 4 nullified thing. Even though Ben Grimm is this rock monster, he's still got very much a human personality. This card completely wipes that away, and I don't like it. I don't.
There's some good news.
Okay.
Unless you or your opponent is playing High Evolutionary, there's no reason you would ever see this card.
That's the truth. That's all right, Evan.
Or really want a Fantastic Four themed deck. I love Ben Grimm, but no need for him to ever show up in a snap deck.
All right. That was my number 4. My number 3, going into sticking with symbiotes.
Just say it fast and with confidence.
Yeah. We got Jeff the Baby Land Shark a couple months ago. We got the venomized version of Jeff. As far as variants go, this is a situation where it took one of the most precious Marvel Snap characters and turned him into a monster. That's creepy. I love how it looks. I love how it has this almost killer whale-esque thing to it. I know he's a land shark, but with the symbiote on there, it makes him look pretty orcish. The corruption of cuteness, that will be a creepy factor for me. So there you go. My number 3, Venomized Jeff. Number 3, Evan Bevins, for you.
My number 3 is corrupt in any version, in any universe in which he appears, but what they did with this, it's the Earth 1610 variant of Arnim Zola.
I knew this was going to be on your list, and he is disturbing.
The original, and none of these variants seem to have a classic Arnim Zola, which is just this really weird, distorted face and a TV screen of a chest. And, somebody at some point, like I said, I believe Earth 1610 is the designation for the original Ultimate Universe. So I assume it was in the Ultimate comic somewhere. Someone was like, hey, let's do body horror. Okay, that's fine if you want to go that way, but I don't want to look at that. Speaking of transporter accidents, I mean, I get it. Arnim Zola, he's just all about experimenting and power and no ethics or whatever. So this fits. It makes sense with the character, perhaps more so than the original design, but I don't like it.
That's pretty nasty.
And I don't like him looking at me. I have not broken this frame either, because just like with Naked Wolverine, I don't need to see more of it. Why can't this one remain black instead of the chimichanga?
Don't you want to see what you're missing?
Never seen a chimichanga in a game.
That's what you're missing there, Evan. That's the.
Oh, thank you so much for that.
We've animated the card. Looks like it's just the background, really.
Yeah, that's what we need, is that random misshapen mass of flesh undulating.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad I ate before we did this. Right?
All right. Good pick.
That's not an indictment of the art. It does what it's supposed to do.
Oh, yeah. It's pretty nasty. All right. So that's your number 3. Then you've got to give us your number 2.
And number 2 is not unpleasant.
Okay.
I got it with a spotlight key. It's the Miguel Mercado variant of White Widow.
White Widow. I might have seen, I don't know if you shared this with me or if I've seen it.
I was saving it.
Yeah.
So she's venomized, but you can't even quite tell at first. And it's just like, okay, so there's some extra decorations, whatever. It's, what's going on with those eyes?
Yeah. Her face is freaky.
They're staring right into my soul. And I don't think they have its best interests at heart. I did see one thing on Reddit that cracked me up. People were talking about this, and one guy's like, I can fix her. No, dude, you can't. Just it run away. But yeah, it's excellent art. I would put this up with some of the Art Germ heroines, except she wants to hurt me.
Yeah, she's a bit scary.
Like, I think I've got this one animated, and I doubt it would animate this anyway, but I don't think she's blinking.
I doubt it. There's no way.
I mean, they wouldn't animate blinking anyway, but I'm saying it's not an option.
She looks like she's done an all-nighter, drinking a bunch of Red Bull, stayed up. Most likely, her soul wants to go to sleep. But it's the symbiote that's not going to let her.
Yeah, this symbiote was like, okay, you guys with your prehensile tongues and your teeth and your green McFarlane drool and all this stuff, that's fine. I'm going to be scarier than all of you.
Yes. I do like the way that they animate the emblem on her chest there and have the reflection from the gold. It looks pretty cool. Good pick.
Her soulless dead eyes are up here, Archer.
Oh, shoot. All right. So that was your number 2.
Yes, that is correct.
All right, my number 2. We are going to look at one of my favorite cards of all time.
I know which one you're going to pick. This should have made my list.
This was very freaky. So I saw this. I do not own this variant. Actually, I don't think I own, other than the cloak one, I think I don't own any of these. It is the Flaviano Legion, which...
Honorable mention to the Legion baby.
Oh, yeah, that is kind of... Oh, that's the chibi. Talking about this one.
Yeah.
Scotty Young.
I didn't... No chibis made my list.
Very surprised.
Yeah, I find them unpleasant, but not really disturbing.
Not as disturbing. Okay. So Flaviano variant of Legion, as you can see right here. It's pretty freaking cool. He's got a blue tone to him, number 1. The skin's kind of blue, and he's squat. Yep. It looks like you can see his back, but he's kind of looking towards the camera or the viewer. He's got this really Joker-esque smile on his face. Looks like a smile anyway. It may be a grimace But what is really freaky is the hands. And at first, when you're looking at this, well, actually, this is what happened to me. When I was looking at this, I was like, oh, he's just kind of wrapped his arms around himself to where you can see his hands on his shoulders, you know, kind of like he was hugging himself in some way.
That explains part of it.
There's some of that there, and then you start counting the hands. This isn't AI, folks. This was done by Flaviano. There are lots of hands, approximately 4 wrapping around and grasping his back. Then you have hands coming at him from the border of the panel, which is freaking awesome. Extremely creepy. It's almost like the tone of this card fits the character for sure. Legion, my number 2.
Although, speaking of number 2, that may be all that's going on here. There's not a toilet in there. You may just really have to go.
Oh, man. I mean, what's creepier than really having to go and thinking there's a bunch of people looking at you? That's rough. All right, that was my number 2. My number 1, and this, you know, what could beat out Legion? This I thought was so good. This next one is a card that hasn't released yet. And are you ready for this? I want you to steal yourself, okay?
Okay.
All right. We are going with Wolverine.
Oh, okay.
All right. So we're heading back to Wolverine, and
He's got his costume on.
He has this I think he has this costume on. Peach Momoko is about to do a set of cards called the Nightmare Variants. There's a lot of variants. This is the Wolverine Nightmare variant. Maybe it's already released. No, it hasn't. October 9th, 2024. All right, take a look at that, Evan. And
I'd rather not.
And explain to the listeners what is going on in this.
Those of you who are familiar with Wolverine's origin and the Weapon X program, he had a lot of things plugged into him as they were grafting adamantium onto his bones. I guess this is Wolverine's nightmare. He's in costume, at least.
Yes, he is in costume.
So we have that. This actually reminds me, you remember Toy Fair magazine?
Oh, yes.
Well, they had Twisted Toy Fair Theater, which I think was a precursor to Robot Chicken. Yep. Often funny, sometimes went too far. But there was a story where the Borg moved in next door to Spider-Man. They were being really crappy neighbors, and so basically Thor went over there to give him what for, and he came back and he had been, you know, what's the word? I'm not a Star Trek guy. Assimilated.
Oh, okay. All right.
He said he was Borged out, and he said, the Odin son hath hoses where he would prefer hoses not be. That's what Wolverine's got here. 3 big tubes coming out of his mouth.
I think there might be more than that. I mean, if you look, there is 1, 2, 3, red, white, and blue, and then there's a yellow one and another blue one.
Patriotic.
He's got a total of like 5 tubes running right into his mouth, down into his gut.
It's like, would there be anything worse than Weapon X? Yeah.
Gosh. So yeah, when I saw this, I was like, this one wins. It looks nasty. I can't wait to see the rest of these Nightmare variants that Peach Momoko is going to do. Look at Rogue. Rogue's not looking too healthy here. She looks like she has become half of a vegetable garden, maybe. There's bugs over here. Nightcrawler's looking, I assume, like a demon. Ghost Spider kind of freaked me out.
It was Miles Morales, so that's the uncanny Spider-Man version from when he stood in for Spider-Man, because Spidey's like, at this point, there's 17 of us.
Ghost Spider's got stuff coming off her back. Sentry, I mean, nothing really, I don't know what's going on there.
Sentry just looks like himself.
Yeah. I mean, Silver Surfer is, I don't know what's going on here. I assume this is the dark side of the Silver Surfer coming out of there.
I guess.
Venom is clawing at his face. Looks like Thor, but there's a lot of skulls down here, which is interesting.
His cape's torn.
And yep, that's a nightmare in itself.
A real nightmare.
But anyway, this nightmare stuff is looking... What is going on here with Captain Marvel? It looks like the symbiote, maybe? I don't know.
I am not sure.
All right, well, there you go. That's my number 1.
Okay.
So, you're up.
Number 1, very celebrated artist, having a moment with Marvel right now. Maybe we should worry a little bit about Peach Momoko, because she's got my number 1 too. Yep. And this one I've seen out a lot. I was looking through the ones I had, and then I was like, wait a minute. There's Peach Momoko's variant of Mystique that lives in my nightmare. Mystique is a dangerous lady. She could be anybody. She's ruthless. She's nigh unkillable. This is just a whole nother level. I've seen Peach Momoko's art, but she's she's a writer too. What really put her on the map beside variant covers was Demon Days, an X-Men story set in feudal Japan with like mysticism. I can see some elements of that in it. Just, I mean, somehow these eyes are, well, just the one eye is somehow worse than both of Yelena's eyes.
Yeah, that's bad. Ugh.
The art's not bad. It's a very compelling, effective, demonic sort of terror.
Yeah, that's pretty, I mean, just pulling that thing, tearing that image apart. Why the one eyeball out there just flying around in the middle? I don't know. Yes.
I feel like if you literally tore it apart as a physical card, it would repair itself and just start looking at you.
That is how creepy it is. All right, very good. Top 5 creepy variants brought to you by Evan Bevins and Jesse Starcher on the Snap Material podcast. Thanks a lot for joining us. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for the next installment of Snap Material.